Radio K, Real College Radio. We are live in Studio K with Twin Cities singer-songwriter, the delroux. How are you feeling coming off that performance?
I'm feeling pretty all right.
Well, you actually recorded your first EP in Studio K in the summer, or last year at some point. And, psyched to have you in for a live performance. How's it different?
How's it different?
Yeah.
My voice gets a lot drier doing a session like this. We use different microphones last time. Every recording thing I've done, I've wanted to make it super lo-fi. Like when I made the EP, my friend Jens, who was doing it, everything he did, I was like, make it more lo-fi. No, make it worse. Make it worse. But for this session, we used nice stuff. And there's more people around this time.
And tell us about those songs we just heard.
Let me see, the most recent one you heard, that was 3. That one was off the album I put out in December. And then the songs you heard before that, it was Minor Characters, Same Desolation, and started off with Arsonist. All 3 of those are new, unreleased.
There you go. Unreleased. Get that. I was hoping you could walk us through the beginning of how you got into music. Or some of your first favorite artists, who kind of got you into music in your life.
Ooh, the first song I remember falling in love with was Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man, but the version sung by Judy Collins. My mom was huge into those 60s, 70s singer-songwriter, folk revivalist people. So a lot of my first favorite songs were Dylan songs sung by other people because my mom really hated Dylan's voice. So I got myself into Dylan a bit later. It started with that, and then when I was in high school, I was super, super into grunge and 2000s alt rock. Jack White was huge. Pearl Jam were super, super huge. The National are one of my favorite bands. Basically all my favorite bands were bands with lead singers with dudes who sang really low and really rough, and my voice wasn't super well suited for that. So it was a little later when I got myself back into folk and singer-songwriter stuff, and I was like, okay, maybe my voice is suited for this kind of stuff. Maybe I can make music I like this way.
Well, on that note, how did you start playing and singing?
I've been singing all my life, a lot of choirs since I was 5 or 6. Just kind of always. It was only maybe a year or 2 ago that I started writing songs more. I guess I always wanted to write songs, but I was such a perfectionist when I was younger. I was like, no, I can't write anything I like. Screw this. But then eventually I was like, no, I just got to keep trying. And I kind of got over that perfectionist hurdle by just making everything really, really, really simple. I don't know if you noticed, but all the guitar I do is really, really, really simple.
It still seems impressive.
Thank you.
A lot of finger picking going on.
The minimalism is kind of the point, or it became the point.
I respect that. And what does the songwriting process look like?
It kind of depends. It's kind of easier to write when I'm doing the guitar and the lyrics at the same time. That's how I started writing. Everything off the first EP was written that way. But then as I did it, I kind of fell more in love with the lyric writing. And so I started building up stockpiles of lyric beforehand and then coming back to them and turning them into songs. I find I get better lyrics that way, but it's harder to get good melodies that way, if that makes sense. My favorite way is to work on the guitar and the lyrics at the same time.
Well, and kind of on that note, something I've just noticed with the music, listening, is every release you do and every new song that I see you do, is you are evolving and kind of building up parts of songwriting in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's pretty neat. I don't know how to tie it into a question, but
I'd say the lyrics have gotten a little more narrative based as I go on. Whereas in the beginning, it was more just really, really abstract poetry.
on that note, who are your influences when it comes to like your lyrical content in your music?
Oh man.
Because I pick up, at least, and we've talked about this, but a lot of like beatnik influence, and
Yes.
the name of your first EP was Beat Sketches.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I have a big love hate relationship with Kerouac and all of the beats, kind of. But yeah, Kerouac especially is a huge influence on me. I mean, in terms of the nitty gritty of how I write, but especially just in terms of the themes. There's a lot of traveling, a lot of like distance in the stuff that I write about. Let me see. Craig Finn is also a huge, huge one for me. He also is influenced by the beats. Craig Finn from the Hold Steady local band. I Yeah, I love how dense his lyrics are. He's super like geographically specific, and I really like really specific stuff like that. I could also go on like Sharon Van Etten is huge for me, especially her first two albums that are more minimal. When I first listened to her first album, it kind of blew my mind because like the songs are so beautiful, but when you look down to it, there's not a lot of lyrics on each one. Like it's so simple. I was listening to it and I was like, this is tearing at my heartstrings so much, but I bet I could do this too. Mount Erie, also huge. Phil Elverum in my lyric writing, and Julie Duerin too.
gotta show some love to Julie Doiron. You put out two releases so far. I already mentioned it, but Beach Sketches was your first
Beach.
beat. I kind of slipped there.
If there's one thing about me, I love the beach. I'm always at the beach.
Yeah, Beat Sketches came out in July of last year, and your first album, Smoke Falls Upward, you put out in late December. What did the recording process for those look like, and how did they differ from each other?
The first one, the EP, was a little more professional, and then that was also like my very first time recording anything. I was kind of terrified. I was lucky to have some good friends helping me out. Let me see. And then for the album, that one we did more lo-fi. I just recorded it in my bedroom in my apartment with some buddies. Zoe from George Records, shout out. Thank you. My cats were a menace during that session, so thanks for taking care of the cats.
And like in your first EP was more hi-fi. Like it's audibly, and the album is audibly a lot more lo-fi. And like I know you've talked about it already, but like, do you think like what kind of led you to the lo-fi element?
Ooh. Well, I mean, a big thing for me with the delroux in general is just the fragility of it. Because I mean, I grew up with a lot of formal vocal training, and like I'm grateful for that. It was a good experience, but that's not really the kind of singing that is the most meaningful to me. I like singing with a lot more emotion in it. And so I knew for the delroux I wanted to like push my vocals into a more kind of fragile place, and I just felt like the lo-fi-ness suited that better. It was also probably a little insecurity, just like these songs, I don't know if they'd sound good hi-fi. I need like a blanket of fuzz around me to make them a little more magical.
It really is like a cool vibe. And speaking of cool vibes, you've been playing a few shows recently. And recently you did an in studio at WSUM.
Yes.
How's it been playing live?
Fun. I like it. Yeah, it's always great. Yeah, it's really funny noting the difference, just like because all my first shows were like very very small rooms, like in basements and living rooms, with small crowds that were like all very quiet and focused. Which like that kind of performing is almost like a drug. I love it. But then recently, I've also done some more shows that are in like crowded bars and cafes where there's like lots of people there just eating who don't give a crap about me. And that kind of singing is it's more difficult at first and intimidating at first, but it's so satisfying when like you're playing for a while and no one's paying attention, and then you hit like the right part of a song and you can like notice the people getting quiet and like actually looking at you. So yeah, playing live in I guess more conventional busy spaces has been fun.
And what's the future of the delroux looking like? I've heard some rumblings that you've been writing a lot
Yeah,
recently.
yeah. There's gonna be new stuff coming eventually. I have a few shows coming up in April. One of them can't see details yet, but it might be with an artist who's previously been on this show, which I'm excited for. So yeah, just stay tuned for that.
And on the music side, you've talked to me previously about like maybe wanting to bring some sort of band element into it. Have you thought about that to any more of a degree?
Yes, there's gonna be a version of the delroux with some more going on eventually. Like, yeah, I don't know if I wanna spoil too much of that right now.
Well, there you go. Your releases have a pretty distinct visual style, and like so does all the merch that you've done. I know you did handmade patches. Like, what does the inspiration for all of that come from?
Ooh, I mean, I really love like the patches and stuff I've made for the delroux. The patches I have, they're all like messy cross stitch on these little doilies I have. I love grandma crafts. I knit, I sew, I quilt. Well, I'm more of an aspirational quilter, but I love grandma crafts like that. Partly because I love clothes and fashion and DIY clothing. And I don't know, in my mind, like a lot of grandma crafts, it comes from the exact same place as like DIY music, as like the punk DIY ethos, just like wanting to do the stuff yourself. And I like connecting those two different things together.
We got one question that we like to ask everyone that comes into Radio K, or that comes into OTR. Uh, what is your dream bill, dead or alive? You get to play 5 artists.
You'd think I would have like prepared this,
Yeah, this is the one.
but I've heard you ask this a bunch. And I'm playing.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to play, you don't have to play.
Well, no,
But
I'll play. I'll
it's kind of
play.
the idea.
I'll put the National on there. I'll put Sharon Van Etten on there. I'm just gonna go with Alive because it'd be too much to think about dead people. The National, Sharon Van Etten, Julie Dwarin, and Mount Erie, and then I'm the fifth.
Mount Erie, good pick. Julie Dorner, all good picks. All good picks. And Minneapolis, pretty great scene. Pretty good music scene. What do you think separates it from other scenes?
That's such a big question. Another one I've heard you ask so many times, and you'd think I would have prepared an answer. I don't know. I mean, I like. There's a lot of weird people here. I say that in a good way.
Keep Minneapolis weird.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like people working in different genres and areas are willing to work with each other, which I think is really cool. I don't know. I think we're kind of the perfect size where we're big enough that there's a lot going on, but not so big that you like lose track of everything.
It's not suffocating. Okay, final question. We kind of touched on this earlier, but what shows do you have coming up, and is there any stuff coming down the pipeline to look forward to?
I can't confirm anything right
Okay.
now. I have no comment on that. But yeah, there will be more new music eventually.
Well, yeah. Thanks so much
That's
for
it.
coming in. You've been listening to the delroux live on Radio K, Real College Radio.